lightweight bout, Vinc Pichel coming in at plus 355 against Ismael Bonfim, sitting at minus 480. Over under 2.5 rounds, plus 115 for the over, minus 145 for the under. Ismael Bonfim picked up his first loss in a very long time, so he's looking for a bounce back spot here against Vinc Pichel, who's 40 years old. And he's looking to maybe save his career, maybe I don't know how many fights he's got left on his contract, but he's 40 years old, and they're pairing him up against a guy that obviously they want to try to build, and with the fight being in Brazil, he's a Brazilian fan favorite. The Bonfim bros, all the Brazilians know him or know them, so got a lot going against him here. Age, wrong country he's fighting in, so I could see why the line is that way. And the Benoit Saint-Denis loss ages pretty well. He was a big favorite in that one too against Benoit and got finished in the first round, but maybe a bounce back spot for him. Big favorite. Do you think he pulls it off?
Oh, man, it's another fight that's weird, and I would not be surprised if Vinc Pichel at I think he's turning 41 in November. I wouldn't be surprised if he pulls this off. Like, I don't expect him to, but I'm not going to be shocked if he does. And that's because you look at him, and he's like quietly 7-2 in the UFC. I don't think you'd ever guess that Vinc Pichel is 7-2 in the UFC. His last 3 wins: Austin Hubbard, Jim Miller, Roosevelt Roberts. You saw Roberts and Hubbard on this last season of The Ultimate Fighter. And obviously Jim Miller's an absolute legend who's still crushing dudes. So those are 3 good wins. And even against Mark Madsen, he outlanded him 68-39. Madsen just had some takedowns and some control time. But, Vinc put himself in a situation there. If he stuffs a few takedowns, he's on a 4-fight winning streak at 41 years old. The guy's not a can by any means. His only loss outside of Mark Madsen was Gregor Gillespie by submission. Vinc Pichel has some damn good wrestling. It's underrated. I mean, he's wrestled with some guys who are absolute world class. He's at a very high level. He averages 3 takedowns per fight at a 54% accuracy. And you look at a lot of these guys' accuracy, 54% is pretty good. He'll look for submissions on the ground as well. Striking department, he's not the most volume in the world, not the most power by any means in the world, but he is good and defensively sound in the striking department as well, as he only gets hit 2.5 significant strikes per minute is relatively low in the UFC at a 58% striking defense, which is pretty damn good for the UFC caliber fighters he's been fighting. So, with Bonfim, obviously lost to Benoit Saint-Denis. Doesn't age that bad, considering BSD has been on a tear. The dude looks like an absolute nightmare for anybody he fights. It's going to be a way different style than Pichel. But if Terrence McKinney was able to go in there against Bonfim and get that round 2 KO, he as this fight draws on, I think Vinc is going to have more and more success. I think if Bonfim isn't careful, he's got to keep the adrenaline in check. He's got to keep composed in there, because Vinc is a dude that will be there for all 3 rounds. And let's say Vinc goes out there and wrestles him in that first round and steals round 1. Then Bonfim's at a real disadvantage, and he's going to be way behind, because as this fight goes on, Vinc will still be there. There's chances he's probably going to take you down more times as the fight progresses, and you could find yourself in a bad situation trying to find a finish to even get a win. So another fight I probably won't be touching, especially with Bonfim. I feel like there's so much to learn about him and even his brother still before I'm comfortable laying any kind of money on him. I think Bonfim, this is probably a win they're trying to set up for him. They want this guy to keep winning. They want him and his brother at the UFC at the same time together. But at the same time, man, Pichel, 7-2 in the UFC, 41 years old, great wrestler, tough as nails, and is not a bad striker either. So it is super interesting. I think a lot of people are going to be hammering Bonfim here without looking at the full picture. And don't come back to this if it bites him in the ass, because I'm just not as high on this Bonfim brother as a lot of people are.
Yeah, Pichel, 7-2 in the UFC is nothing to overlook. And being 40 years old, his style of fighting is weird, because he's kind of got this stick to the outside, hands are low, a lot of movement when he's fighting. I don't know if Bonfim is going to have too much trouble with that. He seems pretty calculated on the feet. But if Pichel could come out and smack him in the mouth, we saw against Benoit, like he didn't really handle that too well. Like Benoit came out with like a bunch of body kicks, and Bonfim looked like he was shell shocked. So if Pichel can make this more of a dogfight, I like it for him, but I'm not going to go against a Bonfim in Brazil. Bonfim will be the pick for me. I think the striking will be a little bit cleaner. Pichel's wins don't really they don't shock me like to the least bit. Like Austin Hubbard, Roosevelt Roberts, no longer in the UFC. Jim Miller, solid win. But with the age, and he hasn't fought in a year and a half, I don't really love that for him. So Bonfim will be the pick for me. I don't love the price, but yeah, I'm not going against the Bonfim in Brazil.